There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. But a little brown maverick is winking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. To my classmates and fellow alumni, I say welcome back. To our families and friends, I say thank you for joining us on this excursion down memory lane, the St. Raymond School 1970s musical reunion.
We were too young to appreciate, I think, what we had accomplished, but the older we got and the more we could compare it to what we would see when we would go see our kids' productions, our nieces and nephews, even myself, I've been involved in school productions. When I see what is out there in the community, there's some really good stuff going on, but it was nothing like what we did. And the people my age, I think the older we got, the more we appreciated that this was something truly unique.
This show is a tenuous exercise, held together more precariously than a stage backdrop hanging from the ceiling with paper clips, like that one. Therefore, I must read the following disclaimer. Be it known to all here so gathered, whereby all the performers in tonight's show have volunteered their time and talents, whereby some of them have not appeared on stage in a very, very long time, and whereby one or two of them are a bit freaked out at the prospect, and whereby there was only one group rehearsal of this show last night, and whereby the only other rehearsals consisted of the participants practicing from emailed sound clips in the privacy of their homes, while children and or spouses said things like, "You're going back to your grade school to do what?" Therefore, there will be absolutely no heckling, teasing, ribbing, mocking, or needling of participants. Even if certain misfortunes occur, such as miscues, forgotten words, wobbly notes, computer troubles, that's the one I'm worried about, a crash and burn of a song requiring a restart, wardrobe malfunctions, or God forbid, tumbles from the stage. They say to err is human, to forgive divine. So no matter how human we are up here, you better be pretty darn divine out there in the seats. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not sure. I think that's some people maybe just, pulling your leg a little bit, because for the most part, people were pretty much on board.
Tim is very persistent.
Tim asked me several times, and I said no, that there was no way that I would do anything in support of it except get on stage and sing.
One can dream, so I did. And the good news is that, Tim was able to pull this together, and I was able to, fulfill that long dream of mine to be a Von Trapp once again. My kids were kind of tired of hearing about it, so it was great. It was a tremendous amount of fun. So.
And it was really hard to take this on, and Tim really made it about as easy as he possibly could have. He was very persuasive getting us all back, and then even just the fact of how things were arranged to take a lot of the pressure off us for performing was really a great thing.
My name is Tim Plaker, and yes, that's me in 8th grade in 1975. Looking back, I can say for certain that I learned a lot while I was a student at St. Ray's, But two things had obviously escaped me up until that point: the ability to tie a tie to an appropriate length, and the ability to hang it on a hook at the end of the school day. But here I am, 36 years later, about to go back on stage at St. Ray's. How does a night like this happen? Well, it starts with a seed, and for me, that seed's been taking root for almost 4 decades. During that time, at least once, every single year since 1973, someone has approached me, sometimes completely at random, and said, "Tim Plaker, hey, weren't you Oliver?" I'm not even making that up. Every year. Well, yes, I was, and the mere fact that so many people remembered it for all these years told me my memories of what we did back then aren't just the naive recollections of an 11-year-old. What we did here was truly unique in the history of this school and in the history of all the participants' lives, and people remember it. With regular grade school children from this neighborhood, supportive families, and challenging teachers, St. Ray's put on 5 outstanding full-length Broadway musicals. So many in the St. Raymond's family recall those days with both fondness and astonishment at the scope of the achievement. And that's why we're here, to remember and celebrate. Tonight, the seed of 38 years of "Weren't you Oliver?" will bloom, if only for a moment. And with the help of some of my oldest friends, we hope to give you a glimpse into a special time in the history of St. Raymond's. There it is, the 1917 building, our junior high and the home of the musicals. How did the musicals begin? In 1972, the year before Oliver, first-year English teacher Vicki Janoski, fresh out of college and trying like heck to win over her junior high students, agreed to stage a drama. While watching the show, Principal Bob Pierce was impressed enough to lean over and ask, "What would you think about doing a musical next year? I've got a boy to play Oliver, but we need to do it before his voice changes." And that's how it started. Truthfully, when they announced the parts over the PA for Oliver the next year, I was absolutely convinced Ed Fay was getting the part. Thank you to Mrs. Janoski, one of our guests tonight, for telling me that little bit of history. Still though, the musicals probably wouldn't have happened if we hadn't had the perfect venue, the original St. Ray's Church, which had been converted into a gymnasium. When St. Ray's opened its doors on Douglas Street, the center of parish life was the church in the building's center. In those days, the altar that would become our stage was ornately decorated, and it sported the familiar arch. By 1953, though, the parish had outgrown the original building, and work began on a new, much larger cathedral. In 1954, the new church was completed, dwarfing the original church and school building. The new church's tower dominated the neighborhood and city. With the new church completed, it was time to dismantle the old. Statues removed, altar fixtures also. Soon, a new floor was installed and laid to convert it into a gymnasium for the school. And for the next 28 years, that room served as the home of St. Raymond Athletics. It was a place where boys and girls took part in one of Joliet's finest sports programs. It was a place that rocked with excitement on basketball Fridays and during the Cathedral Holiday Tournament, Joliet's longest-running grade school basketball competition. The St. Ray's Gym back in the 1970s was a place where a really good basketball player might one day find himself in an NCAA title game playing in perhaps the most famous contest in collegiate basketball history.
Now long in the left corner, back down to Bailey on the left sideline, Gannon in the middle. There's Fred in 4 corners, back to Wittenberg, 14, 13, now to Gannon. Gannon back to low, 10 seconds. Now Sidney goes to Bailey in the corner. 5 seconds left to Wittenberg. Wittenberg tries about a 30-footer. No good, step back. Lorenzo Charles, safe. Lorenzo Charles slams it in. A missed shot from 35 feet. Lorenzo Charles grabbed it, stuffed it back in. The Cinderella team has done it. The glass slipper fits. The Wolfpack has won the national championship.
The St. Ray's gym back in the 1970s was a place where a really mediocre basketball player might one day find himself blogging for Walter Payton, playing for the best Chicago Bears team ever, and winning a Super Bowl trophy. By 1982, a new gymnasium where we gather tonight had been built, and the old gym became what it is today, the school library. But remnants of our 1970s musicals remain visible in the old gym to this day. The rod and hooks for the velvet stage curtain, the scenery poles in the rafters, the colored spotlights in the ceiling. So I invite you to imagine you're back in the old gym. It's May 17th, 1973. The lights are turned down, and the music begins, and the curtain is about to open on St. Raymond's first full-scale musical production, Oliver.
One of the stories that sort of came out of that was Joliet East was doing Oliver the same year, and their music director, her name was Arlene Nudie, and she was considered to be the finest musical drama director in Joliet. She's still thought of that way by people who knew her. But she brought her Joliet East cast to see our production on our final dress rehearsal. And I don't remember this happening because I was backstage waiting, but some of the teachers and Mrs. Janowski, one of the directors, said she distinctly remembers the high school kids snickering about how, oh my God, we're going to see this little Mickey Mouse grade school production. It's going to be so funny. And when it was over, they gave us a standing ovation, and I do distinctly remember Mrs. Nudie came up and engulfed me in her arms. And she...
Is it worth the waiting for? If we live till 84, all we ever get is gruel. Every day we say a prayer, will they change the bill of fare? Still we get the same old gruel. There's not a crust, not a crumb. Can we find, can we beg, can we borrow or catch? But there's nothing to stop us from getting a thrill when we all close our eyes and imagine food, glorious food, hot sausage and mustard, while we're in the mood, cold jelly and custard, peas, pudding and saveloys. What next is the question? Rich gentlemen have it, boys, indigestion. Food, glorious food, we're anxious to try it. 3 banquets a day, our favorite diet. Just picture a great big steak, fried, roasted, or stewed. Oh, food, wonderful food, marvelous food, glorious food. Food, glorious food, what is there more handsome? Don't swallow or chew, still worth a king's ransom. What is it we dream about? What brings on a sigh? Pile peaches and cream about 6 feet high. Food, glorious food, eat right through the menu. Just loosen your belt 2 inches and then you work up a new appetite in this interlude of food. Once again, food, fabulous food, glorious. Don't care what it looks like, burned, underdone, crude. Don't care what the cook's like, just thinking of growing fat. Our sense horses go reeling. One moment of knowing that's full of feeling. Food, glorious food. What wouldn't we give for that extra bit more? That's all that we live for. Why should we be fated to do nothing but brew? Oh, food, magical food, wonderful food, marvelous food, fabulous food, beautiful food.
That was Food, Glorious Food, the opening song in Oliver, Lionel Bart's adaptation of the Dickens classic, Oliver Twist. Thank you to two of my fellow workhouse boys, Tom Connor and Scott Kinsella, for helping me start our show. And we'll see both of them again tonight. Our next song was My Big Number in Oliver, and it's probably the song I am most remembered for. I was 11 years old when I sang it, and I had a big voice. In my mind's eye, I can still picture myself standing alone downstage right and waiting for the introduction to reach my opening note. Here's a little clip. Does it fall from skies above? Is it underneath the willow tree that I've been dreaming of? Where is she? Who I close my eyes to see. Will I ever know the sweet hello that's meant for only me? Who can say where she may hide? Must I travel far and wide till I am beside the someone who I can mean something to? Who can say where she may hide? Must I travel far and wide till I am beside the someone who I can mean something to? Thank you very much. Our next song tonight was one of the big production numbers in Oliver. After Oliver is taken from the workhouse for demanding more food, he's sold to a mortician, but he escapes and he makes his way to London. In London, the very first person he meets is the Artful Dodger, a member of a band of boy pickpockets. Dodger was played by Dave Callens, a year older than I was in school. There's Dave. And although I was only 11 at the time, I was quite aware of something. I could sing, but I wasn't much of an actor. But when I watched Dave Callens rehearsing, I saw someone who could really act. And he was a good singer too, the double threat. These days, Dave is a heart doctor at the University of Pennsylvania, but tonight he's here to entertain us with the song he offers to Oliver when he invites him back to the pickpocket's lair. So let's welcome to the stage one of the true leaders of the St. Ray's class of 1974 and one of the smartest guys ever to go through this school. All the way from Marion Station, Pennsylvania, here's Dave Callens to join me for Consider Yourself.
Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself well in. Consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares? Whatever we got, we share. If it's your chance to be, we should see some hotter days. Empty lot of days. Why grouse? Always a chance to meet somebody to foot the bill. And then the drinks are on the house. Consider yourself our mate. We don't want to have no fuss. For after some consideration we can state, consider yourself one of us. Consider yourself
At home?
Consider yourself
One of the family?
We've taken to you
So strong. Well, it's clear that we're going to get along.
Consider yourself
Well in.
Consider yourself
A part of the furniture. And there isn't a lot to spare. And who cares? Whatever we got, we share.
Nobody tries to be la-di-da uppity. There's a cup of tea for all.
Only it's wise to be handy with the rolling pin when the landlord comes to call.
Consider yourself our mate. We don't want to have no fuss.
For after some consideration we can state, consider yourself one of us. Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself well in. Consider yourself a part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares? Whatever we got, we share. If it's your chance to be, we should see some harder days. Empty lot of days. Why grouse? Always a chance to meet somebody to foot the bill. Then the drinks are on the house. Consider yourself our mate. We don't want to have no fuss. For after some consideration we can't stay. Consider yourself one of us. Our last song tonight from Oliver is sung by Nancy, the good-hearted mother figure of Fagin's boys who's trapped in a volatile relationship with the villainous Bill Sykes. Sykes was played by Robbie Cotto, class of 73, who, by the way, I know that's not a great picture, but that's a real beard. As an aside, I remember sitting in the bleachers on the stage when they used to be up there during a game when I was in 6th grade and Robbie was on the heavyweight team in 8th grade. And I just remember that there was a couple of parents sitting behind me, and I heard the woman say to the dad, "My God, look at how hairy that boy is." Robbie couldn't be here tonight. He had to attend a wedding, but he'd sent a donation this week and a note that said, "Here's a little something from Sykes' latest heist." Nancy was played by Kathy Conrad, also of the class of '73, who joins us tonight all the way from Phoenix, Arizona. Unfortunately, Kathy isn't able to sing for us. So taking the baton from her is Laura Berkey Kitchell, a member of the class of '77 and a volleyball player for Kathy when she coached the St. Ray's girls team while she was a student at St. Francis Academy. Why Laura? And that's Laura on the bottom left there. Why Laura? Because my sister Peggy told me a little story about her. She said that during grade school summers, she and Laura would go over to Farragut's playground and sing all the songs from all the plays, hour upon hour, swinging and singing. Our next song was one of young Laura's favorites. Accompanying some photos of Kathy's time as Nancy, here is Laura Berkey Kitchell, who starred in 1977's Sound of Music, singing one of Oliver's most memorable songs, As Long as He Needs Me.
As long as he needs me. Oh yes, he does need me. In spite of what you see, I'm sure that he needs me. Who else would love him still when they've been used so ill? He knows I always will, as long as he needs me. I miss him so much when he's gone, but when he's near me, I don't let on the way I feel inside, the love I have to hide, the hell I've got my pride, as long as he needs me. He doesn't say the things he should. He acts the way he thinks he should. But all the same, I'll play this game his way. As long as he needs me, I know where I must be. I'll cling on steadfastly, as long as he needs me, as long as life is long. I'll love him right or wrong, and somehow I'll be strong, as long as he needs me. If you are lonely, then you will know when someone needs you, you love them so. I won't betray his trust, though people say I must. I've got to stay true, just
Thank you, Laura. Wasn't that great? When I heard Laura sing that song when we rehearsed, me and some of the girls in my basement about a month ago, I knew that our precariously balanced show was going to be just fine. We have very few color pictures of any of our 1970s musicals, but we're lucky to have some beautiful shots from Oliver, taken by Maureen Connor's dad, who made them available to all the cast members. He passed away just a couple of weeks ago, but I want to tell Maureen, who I think is here with us tonight, that every time, hi Mo, every time I looked at those photos over the years, I thought about what a kind gesture that was on your dad's part, so thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Oliver.
Never in a million years. No, but I have to say, there's something very special about St. Ray's, and I'm sure you would agree with me. Out of all my memories in my whole life, I would say those musical memories have impacted me so much. And so it doesn't necessarily surprise me because there's such a bond with the St. Ray's group.
I'm really astonished. And I think I've been trying to put it together. It certainly was a lot of fun for us while we were doing it. But I think what we didn't realize as kids was just how special this was. It was an amazing production that took tons of work from the adults that put it together, tons of support from the family members, and I think everybody felt ownership of that, and that feeling has remained for 35 years.
Did you know right away that there was going to be another one next year?
Yeah, we knew early on. I don't recall specifically, but we knew pretty early on that they were going to do the Music Man the next year. And part of it was everybody wanted, all the participants wanted to do it again because it was so much fun. It was so, phenomenally accepted by the parish, by the school, by the community. I mean, other grade schools were busing their kids in to come and see our shows. And, to this day, it's kind of funny. You hear some of them, they remember going to see it. And they're like, oh my God, why do we have to go to St. Ray's? But they remember being sort of blown away by what they saw too. And some of them even saying, why didn't we do this at our school?
Our production of Music Man starred Dave Callens in the key role as Harold Hill. Looking back, it's plain to me that Dave was the only one in the school who had both the singing and the acting chops to play the part. Patty Pell took the lead female role as Marion, with other key roles being played by Sally Lehman as Marion's mother, Matt Kniff as Harold's old buddy Marcellus, young Paul McCabe as Marion's little brother Winthrop, and Paul Dillon in the important role of the buffoonish Mayor Shin. For those of you who've seen Music Man, you'll remember the show begins with a group of traveling salesmen riding in a train car. The show's very first line is delivered by the conductor announcing the train's next stop. So let's step back in time for a moment as the overture winds down to Music Man's very first line.
River City Junction, River City, next station stop.
Yes, that was Tommy Thayer, shown here in his 1974 school photo. Tommy wasn't able to be here tonight, but was kind enough to recreate his lines for us from his home in Hawaii. He asked me only two things. One, to say hello to all of you tonight, and two, to make sure that clip does not wind up on YouTube. Our first Music Man song tonight comes from our production's Marion, Patty Pell Dela Cruz, a graduate of the class of 1974. Patty's family moved into the parish just prior to her 8th grade year, and she made an immediate mark by winning the musical's lead female role. After leaving St. Ray's, she continued to act and sing throughout high school at St. Francis, but after graduation, her family moved away from Joliet. She's lived in Florida for many years, and tonight she returns to St. Ray's for the first time in more than 3 decades to share a couple of Music Man tunes. The first is one of the show's most beautiful songs, a lullaby to an as yet unknown love. So please welcome back to St. Ray's, Patty Pell Dela Cruz with Good Night, My Someone.
My someone, good night, my love.
Thank you, Patty. In those photos for Goodnight, My Someone, you saw young Mary Callens, then a third grader. As far as I know, Mary is the only 4-time veteran of St. Ray's musicals, appearing in every 1970s show but Oliver. Now, as I mentioned earlier, one of Music Man's most important supporting roles belongs to bumbling Mayor Shin, who is skeptical of Professor Hill's pie-in-the-sky promises. It's exclusively a speaking part and demands an actor with really good comedic timing. We were lucky enough to have just such a budding young actor right in our midst, Paul Dillon. Here's Paul in a faded old promo shot for Music Man and in his 8th grade yearbook photo from 1974. After graduating from St. Ray's, Paul went to Joliet West, where his interest in acting became his passion. And he's been lucky enough to turn that passion into a long career as a working actor, enjoying successes in stage productions, on TV series such as The Pretender and The Shield, and in movies like the acclaimed Hellcab with John Cusack and Gillian Anderson. But my first notice that Paul was doing okay out in Hollywood occurred completely unexpectedly. I was sitting in a theater enjoying Mike Myers' first Austin Powers movie, and the scene introducing Dr. Evil's band of evildoers came on the screen, including henchman Paddy O'Brien.
Paddy O'Brien, ex-Irish assassin. His trademark, a superstitious man. He leaves a tiny keepsake from his good luck bracelet on every victim he kills. Scotland Yard would love to get their hands on that piece of evidence.
Yeah, they're always after me, Lucky Charms.
Hey, that was Paul Dillon, I remember thinking. And I'll bet some of you had the same experience when you saw Austin Powers. Our next song from Music Man occurs when Harold swoops into Madison Gymnasium during 4th of July festivities to tout his solution to the trouble, with a capital T, of River City's new pool table. Here again, this time, as our Harold Hill, is Dave Callens, with a capital D and a capital C, with 76 trombones.
May I have your attention, please? Attention, please. I can deal with this trouble, friends, with a wave of my hand, this very hand. Please observe me, if you will. I'm Professor Harold Hill, and I'm here to organize the River City Boys Band. Don't think, my friends, how can any pool table ever hope to compete with a gold trombone? Rah, 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 da, 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 rah, rah. Remember, my friends, what a handful of trumpet players did to the famous fabled walls of Jericho. Oh, billiard poly walls come a-tumbling down. Oh, a band will do it, my friends. Oh, yes, I say a boys' band. Can you hear me? I said, River City's got to have a boys' band, and I mean she needs it today. Well, Professor Harold Hill's on hand, and River City's going to have her boys' band, as sure as the Lord made little green apples. And that band's gonna be in uniform. Johnny, Willie, Teddy, and Fred. And you'll see the glitter of crashing cymbals. And you'll hear the thunder of rolling drums and the shimmer of trumpets. Ta-ta-da! And you'll feel something akin to the electric thrill that I once enjoyed when Pat Conway, Gilmore, the great Creatore, W.C. Hardy, and John Philip Sousa all came to town on the very same historic day. 76 trombones led the big parade, with 110 cornets close at hand. They were followed by rows and rows of the finest virtuosos, the cream of every famous band. 76 trombones caught the morning sun, with 110 cornets right behind. They were followed by rows and rows of the finest virtuosos, the cream of every famous band. There were copper-bottom, timpani, and horse platoons, thundering, thundering all along the way. Double bell euphoniums and big bassoons, each bassoon having its big fat say. There were 50 mounted cannon in the battery, thundering, thundering louder than before. Clarinets of every size and trumpeters who'd improvise a full octave higher than the score. 76 trombones hit the counterpoint, while 110 cornets blazed away. To the rhythm of Harch, 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 all the kids began to march, and they're marching still right today. 76 trombones hit the counterpoint, while 110 cornets blazed away. To the rhythm of Harch, 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 all the kids began to march, and they're marching still right today.
Our last song for Music Man tonight was a crowd favorite. Fourth grader Paul McCabe was selected for the role. Winthrop is Marion's little brother, and he struggles with his confidence because of an embarrassing lisp. But Professor Hill's magic works on him too, and by the second act, Winthrop has come out of his shell. In his big number, he entertains Marion and Mrs. Peru with a tune he learned from Harold about his hometown. Here tonight from Grand Rapids, Michigan, is class of '78 member Paul McCabe with Gary, Indiana.
The part of Ado Annie, and it was a really fun part. It was, you know, it wasn't real serious. And when Tim Plaker mentioned that he was going to be doing this, I thought that sounds really fun. And Joliet kind of always had a place in my heart. And we were only here for about 3 years, but it's a neat place.
Well, when Tim called, you know, Tim talked to me. He probably talked to me about this before he kind of made it official. But then I think he talked to me last August and September and said he was going to do it. I was on board. I mean, obviously, I knew it was going to be a lot of fun. I knew it was going to bring back a lot of memories. Knowing Tim, I know that Tim was going to put a lot of hard work into it.
I think we knew early on that it was going to be Oklahoma during 8th grade. And that was a good one for our age group too, because we had some really strong singing boys who now, you know, we were in 6th grade during Oliver, and now our voices had changed. And now during 8th grade, there were 3 main actually 4 main male roles and 3 lead female roles. So we had a good balance of talent for that particular production.
Set in the Oklahoma Territory at the turn of the 20th century, it's the story of 2 young cowboys who vie with an evil ranch hand and a traveling peddler for the hearts of the women they love. Besides several wonderful tunes for the female leads, Oklahoma songs demanded a contingent of strong male singers, and we were blessed to have several to take the lead roles. Our production starred Mary Kay Stengel and me as Lori and Curly, and Ann Blanton and Scott Kinsella as Ado Annie and Will Parker. Christine Beltshoover starred as wise old Ann Eller, Chris Fay as womanizing peddler Ali Hakim, and Tom Connor as villain Judd Fry. Of all my memories of the musicals, one of the most vivid is the opening of Oklahoma. I stood all alone in the wing, listening to the overture wind down to its conclusion. The music slows, and finally it falls into a quiet trill. From there, the show begins only when Curly starts singing the opening line, "There's a bright golden haze on the meadow." Our next song, from Oklahoma, comes from Scott Kinsella. His character, Will Parker, has just returned from a trip to the booming metropolis of Kansas City, Missouri. When he arrives back on the ranch, he's full of stories about the wonders he has seen. Tonight, Scott is back to sing about the town where everything is up to date. Here's Scott with Kansas City.
I got to Kansas City on a Friday. By Saturday I learned a thing or two, 'cause up to then I didn't have an idea of what the modern world was coming to. I counted 20 gas buggies going by themselves almost every time I took a walk. And then I put my ear to a bell telephone, and a strange woman started in to talk. What next? What next? Everything's up to date in Kansas City. They've gone about as far as they can go. They went and built a skyscraper 7 stories high, about as high as a building ought to grow. Everything's like a dream in Kansas City. It's better than a Magic Lantern show. You can turn the radiator on whenever you want some heat. With every kind of comfort, every house is all complete. You can walk to privies in the rain and never wet your feet. They've gone about as far as they can go. They've gone about as far as they can go. Everything's up to date in Kansas City. They've gone about as far as they can go. They got a big theater there they call the Burley Q. For 50 cents you can see a dandy show. One of the gals was fat and pink and pretty, as round above as she was round below. I could swear that she was padded from her shoulder to her heel. But later in the second act, when she began to peel, she proved that everything she had was absolutely real. She went about as far as she could go. She went about as far as she could go.
Thank you, Scott. Did you notice the dancing girls in the part about the Burley Q? We're going to see that group again tonight. Our next performer was probably the most surprising addition to the musicals family. Ann Blanton only participated in one St. Ray's musical, Oklahoma, but along with Chris Fay, she ran comedic acting circles around the rest of us. She was a natural on stage, which she told me came as a total surprise to her parents. She also got to sing the song that, in my humble opinion, is the funniest, most clever tune in any Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. This is only the second time Anna's been back to St. Ray's since her family moved to, of all places, Kansas City, the summer after Oklahoma wrapped up. Today she hails from St. Louis, Missouri, and tonight she joins us to sing her character Ado Annie's Big Number, the song about a girl who's always in a holiday mood, with or without the mistletoe. Here's Ann Blanton Cross with Can't Say No.
I heard a lot of stories, and I reckon they are true, about how girls are put upon by men. I know I mustn't fall into the pit, but when I'm with a feller, I forget. I'm just a girl who can't say no. I'm in a terrible his face a smack. But as soon as someone kisses me, I somehow sorta wanna kiss him back. I'm just a fool when lights are low. I can't be prissy and quaint. I ain't the type that can faint. How can I be what I ain't? I can't say no. What you gonna do when a feller gets flirty and starts to talk pretty? What you gonna do? Supposing that he says that your lips are like cherries, or roses, or berries. What you gonna do? Supposing that he says that you're sweeter in cream, and he's gotta have cream or die. What you gonna do when he talks that way? Spit in his eye? I'm just a girl who can't say no, can't seem to say it at all. I hate to disappoint a beau when he is paying a call. For a while I act refined and cool, a-sitting on a velvety settee. Then I think of that old golden rule and do for him what he would do for me. I can't resist a Romeo in a sombrero and chaps. Soon as I sit on their laps, something inside of me snaps. I can't say no. I'm just a girl who can't say no. Kissing's my favorite food. With or without the mistletoe, I'm in a holiday mood. Other girls are coy and hard to catch, but other girls ain't having any fun. Every time I lose a wrestling match, I have a funny feeling that I won. Though I can feel the undertow, I never make a complaint till it's too late for restraint. Then when I want to, I can't say no.
Thank you. While appearing in 3 St. Ray's musicals, I was incredibly fortunate to sing songs with talented people like Dave Callens and George Duff as Fagin and Oliver. But there are a couple of tunes I'd classify as my favorites. Why? Because I got to sing them with 2 of my best friends. One of them was Farmer and the Cowman, the song that opens up Act 2 of Oklahoma. For those of you who know me even a little bit, you know that my best friend in the world is Danny Wilson, a guy who grew up at 526 Wall Street, 3 doors down the block. Danny played Andrew Carnes, Ado Annie's father, and he and I were featured singers on The Farmer and the Cowman. Danny lives in Arizona now, and he couldn't be with us tonight, but he sent us a little something for our enjoyment.
Oh, the farmer and the cowman should be friends. Oh, the farmer and the cowman should be friends. One man likes to push a plow, the other likes to rope a cow, but that's no reason why they can't be friends.
Only a friend would round up a hat, a corral, and a horse. Believe it or not, that little clip was shot on a ranch just north of Nogales, Arizona, the same area where the actual movie version of Oklahoma was filmed. I mentioned in the program that there have been many times through the years when he and I have reprised that song when fueled by our fond memories of Oklahoma. Although I will admit that on those occasions, we have usually been fueled by adult beverages too. The other song that I was lucky enough to sing with one of my really good friends is our final Oklahoma song for tonight. It takes place in the smokehouse where villainous ranch hand Judd Fry lives. When Curly learns Judd is taking Lori to the box social, he heads to Judd's cabin to have a talk, and in the process, he describes for Judd what it'd be like if he decided to, perhaps, do away with himself. Judd Fry was played by Tom Connor, and Tom joins us tonight from his home in Memphis, Tennessee. And rounding out our team tonight is our friend, our former teacher, and the woman who accompanied Tom and me when we sang it 36 years ago this month, Margaret Kelly. So let's welcome Tom and Margaret for Poor Judd is Dead. Poor Judd is dead, poor Judd Fry is dead. All gather round his coffin now and cry. He had a heart of gold, and he wasn't very old. Oh, why did such a feller have to die? Poor Judd is dead, poor Judd Fry is dead. He's looking oh so peaceful and serene. He's all laid out to rest with his hands across his chest. His fingernails have never been so clean. And then the preacher'd get up and he'd say, folks, we are gathered here to moan and groan over our brother Judd Fry, who hung himself up by a rope in the smokehouse. And then there'd be weeping and wailing from some of those women. And then he'd say, Judd was the most misunderstood man in this territory. People used to think he was a mean, ugly feller, and they'd call him a dirty skunk and an ornery pig stealer. But the folks that really knowed him know that beneath them two dirty shirts he always wore, there beat a heart as big as all outdoors.
As big as all outdoors.
And Judd Fry loved his feller man.
He loved his feller man.
He loved the birds of the forest and the beasts of the field. He loved the mice and the vermin in the barn. And he treated the rats like equals, which was right. And he loved little children. He loved everybody and everything in the world. Only he never let on, so nobody ever noted. Poor Judd is dead, poor Judd Fry is dead. His friends'll weep and wail for miles around.
Miles around.
The daisies in the dell will give out a different smell, because poor Judd is underneath the ground.
Poor Judd is dead, a candle lights his head. He's laying in a coffin made of wood. And folks are feeling sad, 'cause they used to treat him bad, and now they know their friend is gone for good.
Good.
Poor Judd is dead, a candle lights his head.
He's looking oh so pretty and so nice. He looks like he's asleep. It's a shame that he won't keep, but it's summer and we're running out of ice. Poor Judd, poor Judd. Word on the street was that Laura Berkey had a major crush on Tom during Oklahoma, which kept all the younger girls in the chorus abuzz. And I mean, who could blame her? Did you catch Tom's photo there? Let's just say that the guns he was packing weren't limited to the ones in his holsters. I believe this was Tom's first time on stage since a disappointing second-place finish in the JCHS SFA Talent Show in 1979. He appeared in a group that included me and Tommy Thayer to sing Dion's Runaround Sue. But our group had a fatal flaw. We let a St. Paul's guy sing the lead. Okay, sorry to any giants out there. I know St. Ray's kids always had a reputation for thinking they were better than the kids at the other Catholic schools. Tonight, I can let you in on a little secret. We absolutely believed that.
I don't know, I just don't know how to describe the emotion that comes along with getting into the musicals here and just the bonding that took place at St. Ray's.
She was
It was
so
so
good. So
cute.
great.
Yeah.
She was so cute.
She
A little
practiced
off key, but no, she was good. Her practicing paid off.
I was in The Sound of Music, where I played Sister Margaretta, and I was also in Oklahoma, where I was a can-can girl, one of the dancers.
I love the transition from can-can girl to nun.
I did see it. In fact, I helped work on it backstage. My sister was the lead, Peggy, and it was one where they needed several good female singers, and her class was just really strong with female singers because there's like 4 nun parts that sing, Maria, who's the lead, and then the character Elsa von Schrader, who's sort of like the female nemesis of Maria. And all those people sing several songs during the show, so they need a lot of female voices. And then, of course, you got the Von Trapp children, where they have 7 kids that they pulled from different grades, all the way from 8th grade to first grader Gretchen Beltzhoover.
After Oklahoma wrapped up, it was 2 years until St. Ray's staged another musical. Why? Perhaps one factor was that a whole contingent of strong male singers graduated to high school after a 3-year run playing key roles in the shows. Perhaps the strain of 3 straight years of staging such elaborate productions had taken a toll. For whatever reason, the time was not ripe again until 1977, when the school had a bumper crop of strong female singers, a perfect opportunity to take on The Sound of Music. The story of Maria, the postulant at an Austrian abbey who is sent to nanny 7 rambunctious children of widowed Captain Von Trapp and finds true love, then freedom. Sound of Music starred Peggy Plaker as Maria, John Christensen as the captain, Laura Berkey as Baroness Elsa Schrader, the rival for the captain's affections, and Eric Swigard as Max, the cynical businessman and friend of the captain. Oh, and I almost forgot. Ellen Perry played Frau Schmidt, who kept the whole beautiful mansion running seamlessly. Ellen's here. The show begins with a group of nuns chanting their daily prayers, but one nun, however, seems to be missing. It's Maria, who is off alone in a mountain meadow, singing of the glories and beauty of the world around her. Here now is St. Ray's Maria, my sister, Peggy Plaker Manville, to sing for us The Sound of Music.
Has come to an end, I know. A star has come out to tell me it's time to go. But deep in the dark green shadows are voices that urge me to stay. So I pause and I wait and I listen for one more sound, for one more lovely thing that the hills might say. The hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 to beat like the wings of a bird that rise from the lake to the trees. My heart wants to sigh like a chime that flies from a church on a breeze, to laugh like a brook when it trips and falls over stones on its way, to sing through the night like a lark who is learning to pray. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once
Thank you to Peggy. To use school terminology, let's just say that Peggy was not in the 99th percentile of enthusiasm when it came to performing tonight after not singing publicly for many years. But when I asked her to take part, a little voice inside her head said, "How can they do a St. Ray's musical without Maria? I guess I'm gonna have to." There's another name for that little voice: Catholic guilt. And I used it on her as adeptly as our dear departed mother would have. A big part of the Sound of Music storyline involves Maria's struggle to find the correct path in life, torn between the call of her faith and her doubts about whether the religious life is the right road for her. At the Abbey, several of the older nuns have the same doubts, and they express those sentiments early on in the show when they discuss the problem of Maria. In the St. Ray's production, those nuns were portrayed by Lynn Fumagalli, Judy Garvin, Laura Barron, and as the Mother Abbess, Paula Pell, Patty's younger sister. Here's Paula in 8th grade in 1977, and in a recent photo. Paula was unable to be here tonight because of a change in her work schedule this spring. And for those of you who don't know where she works, here is a helpful hint.
every mountain, ford every stream. Oh, hello. I am Sister Paula Pell. I'm not a nun. I've got lipstick on. Hi, everybody. It's Paula. I'm just dying that I can't be there. It's killing me. We are on our last 2 shows of the season, and we're deep into it, so I can't come, and it's just killing me to not be there tonight. I wish all of you the most wonderful evening. I hope you guys have such a fun time. I have a couple quick treats to share. Hello to all my precious friends, and most of all to my precious sister who's there. Hi, Patty. Hope you're having fun. This is from my journal, a couple quick excerpts from my journal from when I was 13, which is the year that I did Sound of Music. As you can see, I liked Rocky, as we all did. This is when I first found Rocky. Well, I have a new love compared to, I don't know who this was, T. It's probably you, Terry Gannon. Who knows? I had lots of crushes. Compared to him, he is an absolute, positively complete, super fantastic fox. His name is Sylvester Stallone, also known as Sly, and he is the star of all stars in the movie Rocky, which is an excellent flick. Laura Berkey is sleeping over, and I think we're having fun. This is the dirtiest part of my journal. Hope you enjoy this. Now I'll talk about making out. Making out is the big thing at St. Ray's. If you have a boyfriend, you're expected to make out with him right away. I've never made out, but I almost did once. It was with Sean Reardon. We two went with Paula Nodoka and Nick Giannetti to the cloisters during a game. The farthest we got was holding hands. Real thrill. And finally, I'd like to share why this evening is happening tonight is all these amazing musicals that we did at St. Ray's. And it really shaped my love of theater and performing. And I have no doubt if I didn't have that beginning, I probably wouldn't be here and doing the job that I do. This was the last journal entry after our closing night at Sound of Music. Well, it's been a few weeks since I last wrote. The last night of the play was beautiful, and I will surely never forget it. We had a deodorant and powder fight in the dressing room before the performance. It was so fun. We did the play the best we've ever done. Mr. Gersh was in the front row center, and he tried to make me laugh all night. He is so funny and nice. I had a crush on you, Mr. Gersh. I don't know if you're there. Then it came. The last scene of the whole play, all those hours of sweat, conflict, anger, and laughter, all melted down to a mere 5 minutes of the final scene. I kind of wanted to cry, but I suddenly got the feeling that I couldn't. I started to say the last line. "You'll have help, for you shall go out with joy." I stared at the spotlight. "Be led forth with peace, and the mountains and hills shall break forth into singing." As the ahs swelled, I shook John's hand, and then Peg walked off to me. This was no longer a line in a script, but a true feeling deep in our hearts. She hugged me, and I hugged her, and then it came, a swell inside me like a great tide, and it hit my body all at once. My tired eyes began to pool with tears. I sang. The organ played. Mr. Pierce's face was too easy to read. I felt a real love in my heart for everyone. Jeff Barr handed me a half-dozen roses. Very classy. My tears turned into sobs. I saw people rising, and then I saw something that made me sob more. Mr. Gersh stood up. I cried, and I cried. As I walked off the stage, Mr. Pierce stood at the door, and I sobbed, and he gave me a hug and said I did a good job. Would have loved an excellent job, Mr. Pierce, no offense, but good is good. Oh, God, how I cherish that man. There were mixed emotions in the dressing room after. Some were relieved, others depressed. I just cried. Peg got a beautiful bouquet and didn't know who it was. She read the card out loud. "I know you were fantastic, but don't tell Mom. Love, Tim." That broke everyone up, especially Peg. That play was the greatest experience I have had in my life so far. I will probably ponder on it for years. I must continue later. I was a very dramatic child. I would like to say thank you to every soul, including my classmates, my teachers, anyone that worked there at St. Ray's during that time to give me the most incredibly happy, joyful, artistic childhood that didn't cost any money, that we could just do tons of plays. I love you all, and I wish I was there. Till you We good? Can you help me out of this position? Thanks, hon. Got a little sciatica.
Uh-oh, there are the leggy 6th grade can-can dancers from Oklahoma again. How did they get into the Sound of Music segment? Well, I told you we'd see them again, but this time they're dressed a little more conservatively. And since Paula and Judy Garben weren't able to join us, we needed a couple of fill-ins for our next song. So we've put the old can-can team back together. Joining original nuns Laura Barron Malinowski as Sister Berta and Lynn Fumagalli Cola Di Pietro as Sister Margareta are Laura Berkey Kitchell and Peggy Plaker Manville as Sister Sophia and Mother Abbess to sing for us, How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria?
She climbs the tree and scrapes her knee. Her dress has got a tear.
She waltzes on her way to mass and whistles on the stair.
And underneath her wimple
do you solve a problem like Maria?
How do you catch a cloud and pin it down?
How do you find a word that means Maria?
A will-o'-the-wisp cloud. Many a thing you know you'd like to tell her. Many a thing she ought to understand.
But how do you make her stay and listen to all you say?
How do you keep a wave upon the sand?
Oh, how do you solve a problem like Maria?
How do you hold a moonbeam in your hand?
When I'm with her, I'm confused, out of focus and bemused, and I never know exactly where I am. Unpredictable as weather, she's as flighty as a feather.
She's a darling.
She's a demon.
She's a lamb.
She'd outpester any pest, drive a hornet from its nest.
She can throw a whirling dervish out of whirl.
She is gentle, she is wise.
She's a riddle.
She's a charm.
She's a headache.
She's an angel.
She's a girl.
How do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? How do you find a word that means Maria? A flippity-tibbit, a will-o'-the-wisp, a cloud. Many a thing you know you'd like to tell her. Many a thing she ought to understand. But how do you make her stay and listen to all you say? How do you keep a wave upon the sand? Oh, how do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you hold a moonbeam in your hand?
One of my goals when assembling this show was to get as many of the Von Trapp children together as possible. I didn't do too badly, 5 out of 7.
Yeah.
I said no several times, and then you know how he got me? He said, I have all the other Von Trapp family singers.
Oh, yeah, that
And
guilt,
so,
yeah.
it was the good old Catholic guilt trip.
You couldn't be the missing
I
link.
couldn't be the one who wasn't here, right? So, and yeah, I'm so glad that I did. It turned out to be very fun. I just took his advice and stood away from the microphone.
Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. When you read, you begin with A, B, C. When you sing, you begin with Do, Re, Mi. Do, Re, Mi. Do, Re, Mi. The first 3 notes just happen to be Do, Re, Mi. Do, Re, Mi. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti. Come, I'll make it easier for you. Do, a deer, a female deer. Re, a drop of golden song. Mi, a name I call myself. Fa, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow. So, tea, a drink of jam and bread. That'll bring us back to do, oh, oh, oh. Do,
Thank you to the Von Traps. That was great. How about that piece of Super 8 movie? As far as I know, that's the only surviving video from any of the 1970s plays. It was shot by Jim Berkey, Laura and Linda's dad, who's here tonight. Thanks to him for preserving some great memories. When the curtain fell on Sound of Music in 1977, it also marked the end of Bob Pierce's time at St. Ray's, as he left for a new job at Troy. He was such a driving force behind the musicals, it was no sure thing that they would keep going. But in 1979, the new St. Ray's music teacher, a young man with a lot of talent and enthusiasm, took on a full-scale production, one last time in that era, of St. Raymond's. The show was Guys and Dolls, a fable about gambling men and the women who longed to tame them.
Guys and Dolls in 1979.
Did you see that one also?
That one's kind of funny. I'll tell you a funny story. that I have no recollection of seeing it, even though my sister is in it. She was in it, my younger sister Sally. And I have no recollection of seeing it whatsoever. So in any event, when I was collecting materials for the show, my sister gave me her scrapbook. And so I'm paging through and there's a Guys and Dolls program. So I open up the Guys and Dolls program and I'm looking through the credits and I see backstage director, Tim Blaker. I have no recollection of doing any of it.
St. Ray's production starred, among others, my sister Sally Plaker Flashburger, Linda Berkey Kapfer, Paul Feehan, Jeff Barr, and Mike Malone. And I gotta say, I got a real kick out of watching Mike Malone up there singing. It was directed by Rob Calcaterra, who had taken over the music program at the school and was also playing organ regularly at the Cathedral. Here you see his faculty photo from 1979, as well as a shot of him directing an orchestra for Guys and Dolls, put together from local students, an ambitious move not even Pierce attempted. I knew Rob a little bit back then and can vouch for one thing. The guy was an incredible organist. His talent was big enough that it took him far beyond the confines of this parish. He eventually found his way to New York, where he became the chief organist for Radio City Music Hall and its renowned Rockettes. Rob died quite young in 1991, but he's fondly remembered, especially by the students of Guys and Dolls, for his work here at St. Ray's. We have one selection tonight from Guys and Dolls, and it comes to us from Linda Berkey Kapfer, whose character Sarah Brown delivers a tune that was quite popular in the show and also became a big hit for the Andrews sisters. Linda recalls one of the best parts of her Guys and Dolls experience was performing opposite class of '79 heartthrob Paul Feehan, whom she had a big crush on. Those Berkey girls apparently dig the musicals types. Have you noticed? Let's welcome back Linda Berkey Kapfer with If I Were a Bell.
Ask me, how do I feel? Ask me now that we're cozy and clinging. Well, sir, all I can say is if I were a bell, I'd be ringing. From the moment we kissed tonight, that's the way I've just gotta behave. Boy, if I were a lamp, I'd light. Or if I were a banner, I'd wave. Ask me, how do I feel? Little me with my quiet upbringing. Well, sir, all I can say is if I were a gate, I'd be swinging. Or if I were a watch, I'd start popping my spring. Or if I were a bell, I'd go ding dong, ding. Ask me, how do I feel? Little me with my quiet upbringing. Well, sir, all I can say is if I were a gate, I'd be
Thank you, Linda. That was great. So there you have it, a brief review of some of the highlights of a very special time in the history of our school. And before we conclude, I need to publicly thank a few people for tonight's show. To Dr. Jennifer Groves, current St. Ray's principal, and Father Brad Baker, Cathedral pastor, thank you for listening to my idea and letting me run with it. Thanks for all your help and support. To the people who helped me put together tonight's event, especially Tony Valera Murin and Mary Beth Malone Rowe from the class of '74 for handling the reception half of the evening. To Danny Wilson, Andrew Nadoka, and Tom Connor, some of my best friends and my fellow students from the class of '75 for making generous donations to help fund our party. Also to two of my other '75 classmates, David Paul and Rob Slattery, as well as Jean Conrad, who she and her husband Joe were two of the biggest benefactors of the musicals ever, programs and tickets for the first 3 years. Yes, thank you, Jean. To Margaret Kelly for exercising her piano chops on behalf of Tom Connor and me. To Joy Jevitz Kaminsky, class of '84, for offering her considerable photographic talents to help document the evening. To all of our performers want to thank our parents for the commitment they made to send us to a school that valued the arts and provided us with a childhood experience that still resonates in our hearts and minds all these years later. And thanks also to our teachers, several of whom are here tonight, for the work they did in the classroom and on their own time to make projects like these musicals a reality. In addition to Ms. Janowski and Margaret Kelly, we also have with us tonight June Anthony, Miss Semrove, Sister Joanne Murphy, Mrs. Piotis, or Miss Van Allen for you old-timers like me. If I missed any teachers, you have my apologies, along with my appreciation. But most of all tonight, I have to thank the people who appeared with me here on stage. There's no greater testament I can give to the experience we had here at St. Ray's than the fact that all these years later, all of these people got my email and phone call and volunteered to do this. It's just a beautiful thing to think that all those years later, their experience here was so great that they're willing to come back here and sing. So thank you, fellow performers. I love you all. Thank you so much.
Tim, we need to just take a moment and you guys want to come out here and recognize a few people. Obviously, this has been the brainchild of Tim, and he's got literally hundreds of hours into this thing, as you can tell from the show and dealing with all of us via voice and email communications. And I think it's an incredible job he's done, and I know it's brought back a lot of memories for all of us. So this may be worth something someday. It's got all of our autographs on it. All right. And Margaret Kelly, for all the hours you put in then and now. Oh, there she is. Okay.
You're kidding.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We love you.
Hey, Jeff Barr, I got a dozen.
Jeff Barr handed me a half dozen roses. Very classy.
Before we close, we have two more songs for you. The first one, we're going to bring out the Von Trapps again.
There's a sad sort of clanging from the clock in the hall, and the bells in the steeple too. And up in the nursery, an absurd little bird is popping out to say cuckoo, cuckoo. Regretfully they tell us, but firmly they compel us to say goodbye to you. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen.
this our first champagne?
No.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. We leave and heave a sigh and say goodbye. Has gone to bed and so must I. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye,
And tonight's night was fun. It just is a testament to the community we have here at St. Ray's, and I just had a blast. It was a great time.
Tim, by the way, awesome job. I never would have expected it to be quite so wonderful as it was tonight. And a lot of it is because Tim put the thing together with all of his little historical tidbits and trivia and different videos that he got from everybody, you know, that really brought the show together and made it funny and fun, and it really engaged people that weren't even involved in St. Ray's musicals.
But I think it was a big success. I think he did a great job putting it together, and I think people have really enjoyed it. So, you know, maybe not every year kind of a thing, but definitely, you know, something that people would definitely come back again.
It kind of feels like a one-of-a-kind reunion event. So many people, you know, it was a huge effort to put on the production, but also he needed the cooperation of a lot of people to make this happen, and people, you know, jumped in and cooperated.
And it wasn't staged. It wasn't like we had a 10-year, a 20-year. This is nearly 40 years later. So it's huge.
I was thinking about it before tonight. I don't know if we get 300 people in the audience 10 years from now. I would come back if asked. It was really a lot of fun. It was great to see everybody again.
I think I heard you ask somebody else, you know, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, they want to try to do it again. I mean, I'm sure everybody would step up to the plate and want to come back and do it because it was that much fun. So it was very, very enjoyable.
Going to do it again?
It's one of those things that I've gotten various degrees of feedback on it. There's some people who have heard about it, who weren't able to attend, who are like, oh, when's the next one, right? There's some people who have said, you know, you can never recapture what it was, and I think there's some truth to that. But I will say I didn't use everything I had. I had some stuff that I didn't include in the show. There are other songs we could do. There are some people who didn't participate the first time who actually attended the show, and they thought, oh, why didn't I do it? I could do it again. So, I don't know.
Oh, the home where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain.
Oklahoma, every night my honey lamb and I sit alone and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky. We know we belong to the land, and the land we belong to is grand. And when we say, yo, aye-yi-bi-oh-yay, we're only saying you're doing fine, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, okay.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma, every night my honey lamb and I sit alone and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky. We know we belong to the land, and the land we belong to is grand, and we're
loudly singing, you're doing fine, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, okay.
Are we supposed to do OKLAHOMA?
So that's our show tonight, and we only hope one thing. We hope we did well enough that we leave you with one lasting thought. Please, sir, I want some more. And one last thing, please. Would you clean up after yourselves tonight? Because Uncle Al and Frank are watching.